I would pick against Brady in the biggest games, and almost always was reminded that was a mistake. So here is my pick for the Philadelphia-Kansas City Super Bowl. Chiefs are -1.5. I like Kansas City, and here's why.
Presented by DraftKings. Chiefs versus Eagles.
They are 12-0 in games decided by one score this year. I think it's a one-score football game. They are very good in close games. Not a lot of blowouts. I don't foresee a blowout. I think that helps. They've won 37 straight games when winning the turnover battle. But by the way, even when other teams don't turn it over, they're 7-0. So they've beaten perfect teams. They have 12 comebacks this season. I think it's reasonable to assume both teams could trail. Their offense, 1 turnover in 9 games. I also think Andy Reid, off a bye in my lifetime, is the best coach in league history. And this constitutes a bye. Philadelphia, meanwhile, not as many close games. They haven't trailed much. As a pure pocket passer in his career, when trailing with 4 minutes or less, Jalen Hurts' completion percentage is under 50%. I think it's going to be a clean game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. This is an empty-the-bag coaching and player game. You let everything go. And I have seen too many close games with Andy Reid and Mahomes, leading or trailing. And the one thing Mahomes does that only Tom Brady truly duplicated, maybe a little John Elway. I can never tell what the score is. Pressure is not a burden. And I do feel like, coach quarterback, I've got a clear edge. I like Kansas City 30, Philadelphia 27, Super Bowl 59, DraftKings Sportsbook.
All right. There you have it. There you have it. Colin is taking the Kansas City Chiefs over the Philadelphia Eagles 30-27. This is going to be the last, blazing 5 or whatever that I always do. For a month, until September. So it's going to be a long time. So I didn't know if he was going to do it this way. I guess it's just the blazing one. I always like to post these clips because it seems to be where a lot of people go to then they use this video to kind of discuss the back and forth of the game as it unfolds. So I wanted to make sure. I mean, we already knew Colin was picking the Kansas City Chiefs. It seems like everyone is pretty much picking the Kansas City Chiefs. Not a lot of people are giving the Philadelphia Eagles a lot of credit or much of an opportunity to win the game. Outside of maybe like a couple of people that I've come across, but like, someone like a LaShawn McCoy I saw in the facility, and it's like, well, yeah, of course he's going to go Philly, and little things like that. But this is obviously going to be a tough game. I mean, it should be. I always laugh when people are so confident about like the score and all of that type of stuff. Because it's just kind of like, whatever. In a weird way, Colin has been semi-accurate, more accurate than not about the Philadelphia Eagles this season, technically. He had them beating the Packers. He had them beating the Rams. He had them beating the Commanders. But Colin has been wrong a lot about the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's kind of like, like, where is it going to go? Where is it going to go? So, I've already shared, obviously, all my thoughts about this game so much. I believe this will probably be my last video about the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's kind of nice to kind of put a pin in this now. I looked at the game from both sides deeply. I think, I see a lot of people for the Kansas City Chiefs side thinking that this game is going to be really easy, and I see a lot of people from the Philadelphia Eagles side thinking that this game is going to be really easy. And it is the benefit that someone like I, have by watching all these games, because I really do feel like I have a good idea of who all the teams are and what it looks like. And the truth of the matter is I just think that this is two great teams. I think these are the two best teams in the NFL going head to head. And I just think it's just going to be wildly unpredictable. Truly, truly unpredictable. I don't really see either team winning easy. It's just because, again, I'm seeing so many various predictions, and I think the biggest thing that the Kansas City Chiefs have going for them is their experience, more than obviously coaching and Mahomes and all that. We already know all that. But just in terms of their experience, and let's say they are down by 14 or something like that, like I don't think there would be a tremendous amount of panic. There wouldn't be a tremendous amount of what are we doing? Whereas I think the Philadelphia Eagles could technically be more susceptible to that because, one, they just don't have that depth of experience, number one. Number two, you can start to fall prey to the aura of like the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like, oh, is this, can we ever really beat them? Right? Like the Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to have that feeling about the Philadelphia Eagles. So again, it's not to say that neither of these teams can't win from behind, and Colin kind of acting like the Eagles haven't been in close games. Like, that's such nonsense because they have been. They just end up pulling away in the fourth quarter. Like, that's the difference. They were in plenty of close games throughout this season. It's just that, at the end of the third quarter or, into the fourth quarter, they just blow the doors open. So it just doesn't really make sense. And then again, just look at the playoffs. It was a close game for the Packers and a close game for the Rams. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it doesn't make any sense. That's in the playoffs in a snowstorm. Win or go home. The Steelers game was close. The Ravens game was close. The first Commanders game was close. And heck, depending on what side of the coin you want to look at it as, like, the game could have been close for the Commanders if they didn't force that fumble, before that last fumble, I think it was like a 1-score game. It was. So, like, again, the Eagles just blew it open in the fourth. But, like, so you're going to penalize them for that? Like, that's their fault. And again, make no mistake about it, like, the Commanders marched down the field on that first drive against the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, they converting multiple fourth downs, and the Eagles were like, yeah, that's great. We're going to go just score a touchdown. So, like, to take things away from the Philadelphia Eagles, again, a huge situational sack, fumbles from Jalen Carter against the Rams, like, it doesn't really make sense. The Panthers game was close. The Jags game was close. I can't think of every game off the top of my head right now, but, like, so many of these games, there was so many moments when the opposite could happen, and the Eagles did not allow it. The Eagles have shown tremendous resiliency. Now, I think at the end of the day, the Kansas City Chiefs will be the most resilient, so they can face the most adversity because they've just been there so many times, and that is the massive benefit that you have from Andy Reid and Spags. If they're down by 10, down by 14, if Saquon's gashing them, or if Patrick Mahomes can't get anything going, like, Andy Reid will know exactly what needs to be done. Spags will know exactly what needs to be done. If the roles are reversed, you're not going to just be like, well, Kellen Moore will know exactly what to do. Okay, Saquon couldn't get going, and now it's, we're going into the second half. Like, I trust Kellen Moore is going to figure something out. You won't have that level of trust. Not to say that they can't do it. I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm not saying that they can't overcome those situations. It's just like you haven't seen it enough. We've seen it for years and years and years with Andy Spags, Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think that's why picking the Chiefs in these types of situations, I understand conceptually it makes the most amount of sense because they check most of the, oh my God, there's a couple analogies that I want to use, but we've come across some recent disasters, so I'm kind of, trying to not say it, but essentially what I'm trying to say is, like, the Kansas City Chiefs are most set to deal with when things are just going wrong. I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles need things to go right. Again, it's not to say that they still can't win in these other situations. It's just you haven't seen it enough. But I reject this idea that they haven't won close games or they haven't still played great or high level in close moments. And if you want to talk about Jalen Hurts being down and whatnot, in the literal Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, when they were down by 8, he marched down the field, scored a touchdown, and muscled his way into a 2-point conversion, which I showed in another video, and it was not no tush push, okay? The dude was like 6 yards back and found himself in the end zone to tie the game up. So, you know, like let's not act like Jalen Hurts can't get things done here. Not to mention, last time I checked, this is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs, not Jalen Hurts versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So you have AJ, you have Saquon, you have Devontae, you have that O-line. You know, you have Hurts, you have it all. So you can absolutely, positively, without a shadow of a doubt, pick the Kansas City Chiefs without a shadow of a doubt. But you can still do so in a way that just talks about kind of the greatness of the Chiefs and not try to downplay what we've seen the Philadelphia Eagles do throughout this entire season. They're in the Super Bowl for a reason, not by accident. Not by accident. Okay? The Commanders beat the Buccaneers. They demolished the Detroit Lions. And then the Eagles played in a close game until it wasn't. And then they dominated them. They disrupted Jaden Daniels, something that no other team was able to do. The only time that anyone was able to really slow down Jaden Daniels was when he was dealing with his broken ribs. Outside of that, wasn't happening. And the Eagles absolutely contained some of that damage. And any of their big playmakers, the Eagles made them suffer negative consequences, just like they did versus the Rams, just like they did versus the Packers, just like they did against the Ravens, just like they did against the Steelers. So it's just, you know, and again, don't take this video by me saying, I'm saying the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win. Everyone's going to, you know, hate themselves for doubting the Eagles. Chiefs are in trouble. Like, I'm not saying that either. I'm really not. It's just, I still just struggle with the conversations that have been had about this entire Super Bowl, quite frankly, and about both these teams. So, the one thing that I keep seeing in the comments is that people keep saying, why are people acting like the Kansas City Chiefs are so good this year? They're not that good. And I do think that that's a miscalculation on some Eagles fans, you know, side. I get why they feel that way, because they see how some of those games unfolded, whether because they watched or just saw the highlights, etc., etc. But one, this team is better than what they were during the regular season because now they're healthier. And two, you know, you do know that you're going to get some elevated moments from Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Spags, Chris Jones, right? Like you know that. It's up to the Philadelphia Eagles to disrupt that. It's up for the Philadelphia Eagles to make the Kansas City Chiefs look like they looked like against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, right? And because there are times, and this is where what's so interesting about the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have been dominant at times. They've won close games at times. Like they've looked sluggish at times. Like they've kind of shown us a little bit of everything. And when you are watching a game like against the Commanders, when you see the Commanders kind of march down the field, convert fourth downs and stuff like that, you're like, well, they're moving the ball. But then they couldn't. And so it's hard to imagine that you're going to get a repeat of that against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's hard to imagine you're going to be able to force 3 turnovers with the Kansas City Chiefs and then go 7 for 7. You know, the Eagles were 7 for 7 in the red zone. If the Eagles go 7 for 7 in the red zone against the Kansas City Chiefs, then yeah, I like the Eagles' chances. But you just I can't imagine that. And then they also forced 3 turnovers against the Packers and 3 turnovers, I believe, also against the Rams. So again, my whole issue about the Philadelphia Eagles is like, how do you win this game without relying on some of the mistakes of the Kansas City Chiefs? You know, if the Kansas City Chiefs play perfect ball and don't make any mistakes, what do the Philadelphia Eagles need to do to be able to win this game? It's hard to imagine the Kansas City Chiefs will be able to march down the field, but then only have to maybe kick a field goal. Or if they do, it's hard to imagine if the Philadelphia Eagles, or excuse me, if the Kansas City Chiefs show their ability to get after the Philadelphia Eagles defense, that'll somehow only be for like a quarter or two. It'll be like, no, the Chiefs can just move the ball against the Eagles defense this is really all going to come down to the Eagles offense as well as controlling the clock, etc., etc. So, you know, that's just kind of all the various ways that my mind kind of has been, you know, juggling all of this. So, but the truth is, you know, the talk is over. The game has arrived. I could not be more excited for this game, but also with all of these clips, all of these conversations, I'll be totally honest. This is going to be probably unpopular. If I wasn't watching it with other people, you know, the Super Bowl, I would honestly, I would probably just record it on YouTube TV and I'd watch it like in the middle of the night, you know, because it's just like, it's hard to explain, but it's just like it's just that's honestly how I'd want to watch it. You know, I'd want to watch it just completely alone after it's already happened, knowing that it's already happened, and just kind of go through it. You know, skip the commercials, skip the halftime show. I don't care about any of that type of stuff. Just watch the game and, you know, see what happens. And you know, but obviously that's not the way I'm going to do it. And just to be clear, I've already said this in another video, but I want to make sure I say it again. I don't know when I'll be able to make my first video after this game, since I will be with people. I don't know if I'll be able to make a video at night. I don't want to like make a video like at like in the middle of the night, only to have, you know, essentially nobody watch it and then have, you know, then have to just repeat myself on Monday. And I also don't know how early on Monday I'll be able to make videos as well, just because I have some other personal stuff going on. So my post game, I'm obviously going to break down this game and all of that, but it's just I just don't know exactly when those videos will come out. And again, I want to avoid, especially on Sunday, avoid making some like random like handheld video where I'm just like holding my phone and then like it's just like me in a bathroom or something with like random people walking around or something, and I'm like, oh, that was a crazy game, I can't believe this. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to do it here how I've done this, you know, the whole season, and so I don't want to rush it and all of that. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. Again, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I could, you know, depending on how the night goes, and like I said, I'm gonna be with like some family and whatnot, and so I just don't know. I don't know what the night will look like, honestly. So last year I watched the Super Bowl alone, so I just don't know what exactly this will involve. So I just wanted to let you guys all know that ahead of time. But yes, those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Colin Cowherd's prediction that the Philadelphia Eagles will lose to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl 30-27? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.